Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for making time to join us. My name is Marwan Wafa. I'm the chancellor of this wonderful campus, Penn State Scranton. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce our Lieutenant Governor, John Fetterman. I'm catching my breath. I need to start exercising. Okay. John was born in Pennsylvania and raised by two teenage parents. And they were just starting out their life. His father was working evenings to put himself in college, and John followed his footsteps later on in his life. John, at 23, joined the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and threw himself into the program where he met a young boy. He calls him in his bio, the little boy, 8 years old. He was the son of two parents who had issues, and he promised to take care of him, and he did. And he went to college and graduated. That's a wonderful, I think, characteristic of any human being. I'm still catching my breath. Goodness. John got a master's degree in public policy from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, where he focused on finding solutions to social work, business, public policy to confront urban challenges and economic inequality. When he came back to Pennsylvania, he started a GED program in the town of Braddock, where he later on became a mayor for 12 years, where he made a significant difference in advancing a town that was failing, and he turned it around. Now, he developed a lot of skills where he took steps to rebuild his community, bringing creative urban policy solutions to the city of Braddock. He worked with young people and artists to transform creative spaces downtown. He turned abandoned properties into urban gardens. And then lately, I'm skipping a lot of intros so that we can get to the subject matter. He emerged as one of Pennsylvania's leading progressive voices of working people, running on issues like inequality, racial justice, and he is honored to have been chosen by the voters of this great Commonwealth to serve as the 34th Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania. John, his wife, Giesel, did I get that right? Giselle, sorry. And their three children, Carl, who is 9, Grace, 7, and August, 4, they live in a restored car dealership in Braddock. I'm a car guy, so I have been asking him about the dealership and how does his house look like. So it's a wonderful thing. Now, for this program, he has been on a listening tour to address the subject of recreational marijuana. And I just would like to remind everyone that what really makes this great country of ours great is the fact that we respect each other's opinions and voices. Everyone has the right to express his voice or her voice in the appropriate way. So without any further ado, introduce John.
This is my 13th county on this tour so far, but I've yet to have one in a room with a more spectacular view than over our shoulders here. So it's an honor to be in your community. And, let me just say, thank you for coming. I believe as an elected official, it's my responsibility to be here. It's important that we get out and hear directly from the voters. Moreover, I think it's important that we, in today's divided political climate, are in the same space as those that may not share our views and hear the opposing views on an issue with civility, with restraint, and with even encouragement, where you might hear something you may not have considered. You might hear something that you may not have considered, even if to the point where it could change your views, both pro or con. Let's talk about hats, okay? For example, there's the whole spectrum of hats in this room, you know? From that gentleman, I suspect you're probably in the pro camp. And then there's others that may not be in the pro camp. And I want to emphasize the need for civility, and I want to emphasize that this is a true listening tour. You know, my views aren't interesting. What's interesting to me is your views, and that's why I'm here. And I would ask that you limit your comments to 90 seconds to 2 minutes, not because you don't have a lot of stuff to say or good things, but because we want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to make their voice heard. There is no guided discovery here. There is no bias in me. We're here to hear from every voice who wants to share. That's my commitment to you. My views don't play a role. I'm here to hear what you have to say. And I'm here to share this responsibility with a lot of your local elected leaders. And we'd like to get the opportunity to acknowledge them right now. Would those folks like to stand up and introduce themselves? Anyone? Yeah.
State Representative Marty Flynn.
Okay, Representative Flynn, would you like to say anything to the room? I'm going to have every after you. Okay. County Commissioner, would you like to say anything to the room?
I just want to thank you for coming and having a listening tour, and for everyone that showed up here tonight, and thank Representative Flynn again for some help in the previous meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I believe we have Larry West from Senator Blake's office. Hello. Okay. And I believe we have Bill Davis from Representative Mullen's office here as well, too. I'm getting to that. I just wanted to acknowledge and is there anyone else, any other local elected officials here that would like to acknowledge themselves? Yes. Okay. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming. Now, the final thing before we just kind of get into it is at the end of our session, I will do a visual roll call. And it'll be all those in favor, aye. All those opposed, no. All those in the middle. That way you can share your views and be counted visually, and everyone in the room can know where this room was, and everyone watching will know where this room was and is, and all those across Pennsylvania that will have access to this and every other meeting that we've had across Pennsylvania will know where your county was. And that'll occur at the end, so I would ask you, of course you're free to leave at any time, I would ask for you to stay till the end so you can kind of weigh in one final way. You have a chance today for 3 opportunities. We have comment cards that we are distributed. You can weigh in online on our online submission form, and you can also do at the microphone, which we're about to commence. All of them, none of them, it's not, you can sit and listen, whatever you're comfortable with, but I want to emphasize, thank you for coming, and let's talk adult use recreational cannabis. Please form 2 lines, and we'll get this started. Thank you. And one last thing, again, to emphasize, so everyone that would like to speak can be heard, I would like to make sure, again, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, please. Okay? So, Commissioner, why don't we start with you since you're there? So, thank you.
Is this on? Is the microphone on? Can you hear it now? Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. As you stated, my name is Commissioner Lorraine Cummings. I have been speaking against medical marijuana because of the rollout, and I believe there should be more testing. Marijuana is a Schedule I controlled substance by the FDA. As such, there has been no legitimate scientific studies to either prove or disprove its safety or efficacy.
Commissioner, do you want to clarify? Are you opposed to medical as well, too?
It would depend on how the testing results were, because we don't have any at this point. So without that, I don't believe it should have been rolled out. Also, due to its listing as a Schedule I drug, physicians cannot oversee patients' care or write a prescription for it. They are currently recommending based on diagnosis. Trying to read my own handwriting. The current opioid crisis occurred as a result of Purdue Pharmaceutical and the FDA changing laws and labeling laws and ignoring the lack of scientific studies. We all know how that turned out. Sunday, we had a show on 60 Minutes, and Mr. David Kessler, who was the previous director of the FDA, stated, "You have a system of pharmaceutical promotion that changed the way medicine is practiced, and no one stopped it. Pennsylvania is on the verge of making the same mistake with marijuana. Passing drug laws should not be based on a show of hands, but on scientific proof." Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello? Thank you, Mr.
No, that's not the... No, there's no pro or con side. I want to emphasize. Yeah, so...
Thank you, Mr. Fetterman, and thank you, Penn State, for holding this discussion tonight. Everyone's opinion here is very important, and it's great that we have this platform where we could share them in the same room together. About 4 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is a connective tissue disorder that, for her, left her in pain every single day. After her diagnosis, we saw multiple doctors. She was prescribed multiple pills. This left her a zombie in our life. We have 2 small children. It got to the point where I had to say to her, "You have to leave, and I'm going to take care of the children," because they were just turning her into a zombie. Around that same time, another state was petitioning for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome to be added to their medical marijuana program, and I did what I had to do to try to get her to try it. At that point, it absolutely saved her life. She was able to play with our kids again. We were able to have a life again, and that was absolutely amazing for us. She is now enrolled in Pennsylvania's incredibly expensive, but very happy we have it, medical marijuana program. But I do want to say that, it is my firm belief. We try to be good people. We pay our taxes. We bring the shopping carts back, from the parking lot. We try our best to do the right thing here. And I felt like a criminal for many years because we didn't have this available to us, this medical marijuana program. And I think that ending the stigma around marijuana in general, cannabis in general, would do a lot for us. My personal belief, there is no form of cannabis that is not medicinal. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss, you have the floor.
Hi, I'm Shayna. I believe that recreational marijuana is a vice like tobacco or alcohol, but that it's less harmful and less addictive than those legal substances are. I believe recreational marijuana should be legalized and taxed heavily. The state of Pennsylvania could really use another source of tax income. I read that Colorado was estimating that when they legalized recreational marijuana, they would make around $70 million in taxes the first year, but they made $140 million instead, double that. Just a short comment there.
Thank you for sharing. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Jeff Zick, Lieutenant Governor. Welcome back to Lackawanna County. My wife and I own and operate a store here in town, in Scranton, actually, Big Yield Hydroponics. Legalization with home grow would greatly benefit our business and other small businesses just like ours in our state, especially our local home improvement and farm supply stores. All right. Now, can you, we have to let our people grow. And that's what it is. I mean, gardening should have never been a crime, and somehow they made it one. All right? Can you imagine a new generation of adult gardeners? Okay? We're talking about your food and your vegetable crops getting better. We're not talking about anything harmful. There's nothing harmful about gardening. Okay? Do you remember when they said that, we had this whole fear about hemp, and we couldn't grow hemp or it'd be, you can get arrested in the state of Pennsylvania. Well, now we are allowed to grow hemp in the state of Pennsylvania, and we're making a change with the hemp plant itself. Do you remember when they said medical cannabis would ruin our communities? Well, they said that medicated drivers would be crashing everywhere. It never happened, and we're saving lives. Our Commonwealth, once again, is building a sustainable future with Pennsylvania grown hemp and providing thousands of the sickest patients with safe, reliable access to this plant. We need to reverse the damage done by the 80-plus years of prohibition and realize the $580 million in revenue generated by regulated environments. We already know it has medicinal and industrial applications, and we need to stop arresting adults for surely interacting with this plant. Our state budget, local farms, and small businesses will grow with the legalization of adult-use cannabis. A quick show of hands. How many of you disagree, how many of you that disagree with adult-use legalization have ever grown this plant before? That disagree have ever grown this plant before?
Yeah.
Okay? A quick show of hands. How many of you 21 over would like the opportunity to grow this plant? Okay? Now, with your hands up, how many of you would shop at our store? I rest my case.
All right, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, John, for having this. My name is Bob Bolus. I'm in the transportation industry here in Pennsylvania. What I want to put out, and I see everybody raising their hands.
You have the famous trucks, right?
You
Yeah,
got it,
all
sir.
right. I saw them on the trail.
And they're world renowned. They've been videoed from all over the world. And I'm proud to say we did that. But what I saw, raise of hands here. How many of you would raise your hands if an 18-wheeler came down and ran into you while you were in your car and he was smoking a joint before and after and wiped out half your family and crippled you for the rest of your life? Would you raise your hands? The hell you would. If you were
all
laying there.
right. Yep.
I have been in the
Everyone-
towing industry for 57 years, and I have gone to more crashes and fatalities that you
Civility,
people have not seen
everyone.
in your lifetime. I have witnessed the children, the Maine, and everything on these interstates. If you think it's okay to tell somebody to drive a car or a truck high as a kite down the interstate or go to your surgeon who's going to do brain surgery on you, then that's where you belong. Okay? The other part of this is marijuana was an illegal substance. If we legalize it, are we going to take everybody that had a felony in the past and wipe their records clean? Because they had a joint. Are we going to put more? My ban is that you banned my trucks on the interstate in a snowstorm and said my drivers couldn't drive. I have filed federal litigation against the governor of Pennsylvania for banning the trucks on a snowstorm. But a young child, a young kid, 16 or younger, or somebody never drove on the snow could go and drive on that highway. But people like us who have been driving for millions of miles are not allowed on the interstate. But yet you could say it's okay for me to drive a truck with a joint in my hand and get on the interstate
No.
and run into you.
Okay, so, all right.
My issue is about safety. My issue is about safety, the welfare, and what is one life worth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You have the floor.
Sorry, I'm short. So, hi, I'm the wife spoken about earlier, and cannabis absolutely 100% saved my life. And yes, it was recreational. That has nothing at all to do with it. And quite frankly, anybody who is against it is against me being alive right now, because I would be absolutely dead without cannabis. I'm sorry for getting emotional, but this is just absolutely ridiculous that it's even a thing that we're discussing in this room. This can save lives. We do need testing. I absolutely agree. And we can't because it is not illegal. We can't test this thing because it is Schedule 1, and it should not be. So this is just nonsense. None of this should be talked about. It should already be legal. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor. Where's the microphone? Oh, there. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. I have a Time magazine here that's a special edition. In this Time magazine, it tells you about Richard Nixon.
Sir, would you speak in the mic, please?
Okay, and I have a Time magazine here that's a special edition. It's been on the newsstands 3 or 4 times since November of 15. In here, it gives us all the information we need. I'll prove it to anybody who doesn't believe me that this is actually a deceitful act of vengeance by Richard Nixon. He abused his oath of power. He abused his oath of office to harm a demographic of people, hippies, blacks, Jewish, and wanted to run the anti-war protesters off the White House lawn. So he put the DEA in place to block any research, science, and evidence. That's been going on for the last 48 years.
Sir,
hold this a
specifically on adult
Okay.
use cannabis.
In this magazine, okay, you see that beautiful little girl right there? Her name is Charlotte Figge. She would die without this as a medication. Her eyes and her brain would erode apart. She'd bleed out her ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. Would that be nice for her parents to experience? And how many children have died that way in the last 48 years and their parents had no relief? We know about PTSD. We know about how many things this does good for, but because one person lied, a lot of people suffer. And I really think the oath of office and the integrity of it has been compromised through this. That people's rights can be violated readily. Here I have a bag of what goes in the ocean, okay? The report that Richard Nixon threw out.
Sir, just are you pro or con against?
Okay, I want to finish my comment.
Well, we're bumping up against the time limit.
The report that Richard Nixon threw out, they knew that there was a biodegradable plastic in 1971 for single use. I am pro-marijuana. They say that I am a miracle from God because my spinal cord was torn by 80% and I have bone on bone in both my hips. They say I should have absolutely no ability to walk. But God loves me and he's given me his miracle medication. And that's why I'm here today.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Commissioner, please. Just. Yes, you have the floor.
My name is Les Stark. I'm the executive director of the Keystone Cannabis Coalition. We're a statewide organization fighting for the full legalization of cannabis. And, some people think that cannabis just all of a sudden appeared here one day, but actually it's been around for many years. I want to tell you a story about 1933. Back in 1933, up in Binghamton, New York, they noticed that cannabis was everywhere. They were saying, where is this coming from? So they did an investigation. And after arresting one person who led to the other person, who led to the other person, it came back to a local Scranton musician named Robert Deegan. And Robert Deegan was evidently responsible for half the cannabis in Binghamton County. Robert Deegan went on to become world famous for writing the song The Hokey Pokey. So he died about 10 years or so ago at the age of 107. So he did pretty good. Now, we had this drastically failed 14-year experiment with alcohol prohibition from 1919 until 1933. During that 14 years of alcohol prohibition, cannabis was 100% legal. So a lot of people gave up alcohol and they started smoking cannabis. And during the 1920s, they were alarmed and they said, oh no, everybody's smoking cannabis. So in 1933, 4 years before the federal government passed a law, Governor Gifford Pinchot signed legislation into law on May 22nd, 1933, and it's been 85 years of a nonstop war against people. Now, I want to address one thing. A lot of people say, what about the children? What about the children? That's why they made it illegal in the first place. In the 1930s, they were alarmed. They said all the kids were smoking it. So in the 1940s, they said, oh my gosh, more kids are smoking it. In the 1950s, you had rock and roll, and with that came marijuana use, and they said, oh my gosh, more kids are smoking it than ever. Then the 1960s came. We all know what happened in the 60s with the hippies. And they said, oh my gosh, it's an epidemic, the kids are smoking it. And then in the 70s, they said, oh no, more kids are smoking it now than ever. I graduated in '84 and half my class smoked it. I talked to people who went to school in the 90s and they say that just half their class smoked it. You talk to kids now, they're smoking it now. So when people say, oh no, the kids are gonna start smoking it. No, Actually, the best way we can get a handle on that is with taxation, legalization, and regulation, and that's what is going to do it, and the time is now. And stop ruining good people's lives with these terrible, immoral laws.
All right. You have the floor.
Hello, my name is Jay Walsh. I'm the founder of Occupy Wall Street, and I'm a professional friend of Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Sanjay Gupta from CNN. Now, Dr. Gupta went around the world to look at medical marijuana and basically came away with righting a wrong that 20 years earlier he told us that marijuana wasn't a good drug. But after going around the world and checking what's going on in the research area, he determined he made a mistake, and he owned up to it. Now, as far as recreational marijuana is concerned, I used to use it back in my 20s because my mind went so fast. And my sister used to make fun of me. She goes, "You smoke pot and you clean a house." She goes, "How do you do that?" I said, "Because my mind works very fast." So medical marijuana, yes. Recreational marijuana, yes.
Okay. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fetterman. It's a pleasure to be here, and this is unprecedented for you to be doing this because none of the other states did this, to have a talking tour, listening tour. I want to congratulate you for that. That's a wonderful thing. And that old yellow-haired lady over there are 700 maladies that have white papers on it, and Penn State actually just found out that cannabis does cure cancer. Hey. Everyone knew that already, but Penn State just found that out. We have an endocannabinoid system in our body. How many people are aware of that? A couple. Fish have it also. We actually have a cannabis deficiency if you aren't using cannabis. So we need this in our system. We used to feed it to the hogs and the cows and the pigs and the sheep, and all our meat, dairy, everything had omega-3, 6, and 9s in it. Now we don't have that anymore, and look at us. We aren't in a state of well-being. We're being subsidized with corn to feed the cows that get sick, so they give them the antibiotics. We need cannabis. We need home grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Sir, you have the floor.
My name is Carl, and I'd first like to say thank you for giving us, the people, a chance to voice our own opinions instead of the government making the decision for us on whether we should legalize it or not. And I'm pro-legalization. I'm 70 years old, and I've been around marijuana over 50 years, and I think I look pretty good. I'm a married man with children. I work, and to me, there's a time and a place for everything, whether you drink, smoke, I don't care what, a beer, a wine, whatever it is. When you're done with work and you go home that night, instead of doing a beer or a wine, because I don't drink, I like to do a little puff. It relaxes me. Eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed. That's the whole deal. Thank you.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Whitney, and like everybody else, I want to say thank you for coming here and listening to us and hearing us. And I know this is for adult recreational, but if you could hear me for just one moment, Bronson has been, this is my friend Bronson, and he is my service dog. He has been my service dog, my faithful companion, for 6 years. In October, late October, he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, bone cancer. November 8th, his leg was amputated. We know there is documented evidence that we know that cannabis shrinks tumors. We know that it's medicinal. I am begging, when we even passed medical use in this beautiful state that we live in, we forgot about our best friends. I can't get what I need to save his life. And I'm begging for somebody to do something about that. There's also, maybe some of you know, there's something called Rick Simpson oil, and it's very healing. I know many people who have cured their own cancer, adults in other states where cannabis, recreational and medicinal, has been legal for some time. We have to make some changes here, and we need something now. I need something now to save Bronson's life. So thank you for hearing us.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm a junior here at Penn State. I'm in the Human Development and Family Studies major, and as looking at it as a better alternative, really, I would like to just share an observation that I have from people that I know that have smoked it, and I think that when they can get marijuana, they use alcohol a lot less at parties, at gatherings, and they sleep better. The adverse effects from alcohol really affect a family, I think, their relationships. And so when they can get marijuana and they do that as an alternative to alcohol, I think that it really helps families. I see it as, and so make it legal for recreational use so they can use it when they're home after work. Of course, not on the highway. Of course, not in danger. It's just like alcohol. But it's a better alternative to alcohol for many people, and I think it really would help our families and our communities. And I look forward to hopefully someday seeing that.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
My name is Jacob Bonnick. I'm a local taxpayer, as I'm sure many of you are, and I want to thank you for being here. I think I'm in the minority in this room that if marijuana were legalized recreational tomorrow, I would not be out buying marijuana. I have no interest in it, nor do I have an interest in what you do. My interest more is as a taxpayer, and when I see the experiments that have taken place in Colorado and California, I think that we're missing out on a significant amount of untapped resource as far as tax revenue. That if we look at Colorado, in its first year of legalization, generated almost $500 million in increased revenue. If we take that and extrapolate that out to Pennsylvania, sorry, I'm a scientist, those are the kind of words we throw around to make ourselves sound smart. If we extend that out to Pennsylvania and then take away the money that we spend in terms of investigation and prosecution and incarceration, I think that we can bridge most of the gap that exists now, and I think it's a $1.7 billion budget shortfall we're facing for next year. I think that money shows up if we have this as a tax source. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Governor, or Lieutenant Governor. I appreciate your listening tour. You're welcome. I'm James. I have Asperger's syndrome. And I am also a taxpayer like the previous gentleman. I'm a homeowner in Scranton, and being on the spectrum means my income tends to be limited, and the property taxes in Scranton are crushing me. I am so scared that I'm going to lose my house. I would like to see all forms of cannabis, including recreational, legalized and taxed, and the proceeds used either to offset property taxes or to expand Medicaid. Additionally, let's be mindful of the fact that New York and New Jersey are fast moving towards legalization. That means if we're not on board with them, the Commonwealth will be flooded with cheap, untaxed pot, and that's only going to cause us more problems than it prevents. And it's, the budgetary issue, as mentioned before as well. We have a Republican legislature that refuses to impose a severance tax on gas producers. We have a budgetary process that's always about cutting human services, and this needs to stop. If we can't tax gas producers and millionaires, let's tax potheads. Common sense, especially, and if this should be a thorough debate. It doesn't have to be a rush to judgment, but I would ask that in the interim, while the debate goes on, all forms of cannabis should be decriminalized statewide, since currently half of Pennsylvania residents who possess a small amount of cannabis would be subject to, a small $50 or $100 fine, whereas the other half of Pennsylvania residents go to jail over a joint. And that's wrong. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is the cradle of liberty and our nation's first capital, the fact that this should be the case it's unconscionable. Thank you for your time, Governor.
Thank you.
Or Lieutenant Governor.
You have the floor.
And P.S. Sorry to cut in line. I have to go to work.
Thank you for being here and asking our opinions. My name is Ann. I'm a Lackawanna County resident. I support legalization of recreational marijuana. Thank you. I am vertically challenged.
I'd like to see our court systems freed up. I don't think people should have felonies on their record because they got busted for selling a joint or two. I don't think it's the evil weed. I don't think a lot of people who oppose the having pot legal would feel that way if it were. I don't think they would see it as a bad thing if it were not illegal. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, my name's Dan, and I am pro-legalization. To touch upon what this gentleman mentioned earlier about Nixon, in 1994, Ehrlichman, Nixon's former domestic policy advisor, actually said, and this is a quote, "You want to know what this was really all about? This is about the war on drugs." He asked the businessman of a man who, after public disgrace and a stretch in federal prison, who had little left to protect. The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Now, if that doesn't say enough about how corrupt and old these laws are, I don't know what else would. Cannabis saved my life, just like so many other people said here. I have CPTSD. There was a point where I wasn't able to leave my house. I have a hard time even speaking in front of people right now, and if it wasn't for cannabis, I wouldn't be able to stand here today. I also have epilepsy, and my grand mal seizures were under control since the age of 8, but being on epilepsy medication for those many years caused me to obtain osteopenia because of bone density. Since being on medical cannabis, I've been able to cut down from being on 14 pills a day to 1 pill twice a day, and now when I get an EEG done, which I've had done 4 times since legalization, I've been completely seizure-free, no grand mals, no petite mals, nothing. This medicine saved my life, and this could help a lot more people if it's legalized recreationally as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
I want to thank you very much for coming out and listening to everyone. First, my name is Adam Cottle. I'm a veteran. I have felony charges pending for marijuana. I had a little bit of weed on me. I got pulled over, and I got stopped. I'm facing up to 5 years in prison if a jury convicts me. Quick show of hands. If you were on my jury, would you convict me? No? All right. So I plan on forcing and doing as much as I can to be as provocative as I possibly can. I home grow my own weed. I have a network of growers that are also military veterans that they also grow their own weed too. So if they want to come after us, they got to come after me and all the veterans that I've taught how to grow. So that's where we're at. We're willing to take everything all the way to a jury trial because I pass these cards out everywhere I go. Jurors could say not guilty when people break unjust laws, and I believe I have more faith in the stranger next to me than I do the government. So thank you very much.
Sir, you have the floor.
John, my name is Rick Root. I have to say that no matter what this drug is, whether it's cannabis or heroin or alcohol, it has to be restricted. I am a commercial driver. I see what I'm dealing with every day, and the use has expanded, as this gentleman has stated. It's a dangerous situation. Professional drivers are held more responsible than anybody, including politicians and attorneys. Most would not use alcohol. Almost none would use cannabis, but if cannabis is going to be used, it needs to be definitely studied to the point you don't necessarily need to use medical marijuana. You can use the extracts from that plant in medicinal form. It needs to be supervised and regulated for the safety of everybody, including those people who would prefer to have recreational marijuana in this room. If they're doing that and simply walk out into traffic, they could commit suicide.
Sir, so how would you categorize your view? Strongly pro, strongly con, or in the middle?
I would say medical marijuana as an extract would probably be pro. For recreational use, I can't agree with anything that's going to distract your ability to perform, to be conscious of what's going on around you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. You have the floor.
Hi, Lieutenant Governor Fetterman. My name is Lisa Walker, and as you can see, I have a broken clavicle and a broken shoulder. I'm disabled due to anxiety problems, and I can't afford medical marijuana. 2 psychiatrists have recommended I could get off 3 medications if I had marijuana. And I smoked marijuana in my younger days. I did not do suicidal things. I did not get in my car. I did not do anything like that. And I believe it should be legalized so we can afford it, because I only get $771 a month, and it's like $250 cash. It is not covered under medical assistance, and then you have to pay for the tincture too. And I just, and also I believe that the revenue is also wonderful, and the other truck drivers should not be using alcohol, marijuana, or any other drug while they are driving. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, my name's James McNulty, not the old man relation there. But anyway, I was a motorcycle rider, and I was clean. I did nothing at all. But I hit every state in the country. And someone hit me when the state of Pennsylvania removed their helmet law, and I didn't have my helmet on. So this whole piece of my head is gone. So for about 11 years, I was having epilepsy, the one guy was talking about, and I was having a grand mal seizure every month. And then about 4 years ago, I started the marijuana, and I stopped the grand mal seizures. I didn't have one. I was having one every month. And it's bad. And not only that, I ended up getting leukemia. But I was smoking the pot. And I have the medical card too and all that. But the leukemia only lasted 2 years. I mean, my mom died from it, and she had it for about 12 years. So 2 years, and I think the pot took away. I have a lot of things that go away, and I don't alcohol, and the driving with marijuana is real mellow, guys. I seen. I don't drive at all anymore. With one eye is very hard, but the people that are really away from the marijuana, that all the people that need it, there's problems with them, and I don't know why they're like that. And Trump is okay with it. Thank you.
Sir, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Governor. My name is Jeff Reedy. In my day job, I am an advocate, activist, and I am the executive director of Lehigh Valley NORML. That is the Lehigh Valley chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Tonight, I'm taking off that cloaking. I'm speaking as an individual and a marijuana consumer. I turned 61 years old last year, John. Last week, I'm sorry. And I've been smoking marijuana since I'm a teenager. And I've been marginalized since I'm a teenager as a marijuana user. I've been criminalized since I'm a teenager as a marijuana user, John. And it's not fair to me or anybody in this room. And and people talk about the the gateway. And I'll tell you, as a young marijuana user, yeah, I saw a lot of the drugs around me, and they were there. And the reason they were there was because of the prohibition on marijuana, and I was forced to go to the street and talk with a street dealer to get my marijuana. Yes, I dabble and tried some of those things when I was a youth. I've chosen to live and use marijuana, and that's my choice. So I feel that there is a disparity in the way we're talking about things. I'm sure many of our opponents that are opposed to marijuana probably have no problem going and drinking a drink tonight or a few drinks this evening and maybe getting behind the wheel or maybe not getting behind the wheel. But anyway, enjoying a drink or two to relax. I choose to smoke marijuana to relax. And I do that on a daily basis, and I've done it on a daily basis since I'm a teenager. And if you're looking for a scientific study on what marijuana does to a person, I am that scientific study. I've been doing it day in and day out for most of my entire adult life. And I can tell you, I am a contributing member of society. I do a lot for the advocacy group across this state and across the country, but I have contributed a lot to this society, and marijuana is not a harmful drug once you get to understand it and know it. I have fought for medical marijuana in this state. I am in favor of legalizing marijuana. I'm in favor of allowing people to grow marijuana, which would eliminate the inequities in the medical marijuana laws, which do not allow patients to grow their own. So I applaud you for standing by the power of your convictions and doing this tour, and I am for legalizing marijuana, growing marijuana, and anything that has to do with marijuana, as long as it is safely done in a state. And regarding DUIs, I do approve of testing for DUIs regarding marijuana. I don't think it is safe to drive when you're under the influence of marijuana. I do applaud you, and I support that, but legalizing marijuana is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Garrett Collins. I use cannabis every day. It helps. It just helps my life. My kids like me better. Said it to my face. I'm a medical patient, by the way. But if I wasn't, I'd still use cannabis because it's always helped me. With the program, it's helped me fine-tune what I need for my condition. I'd like the people that can't make it and can't afford this very privileged program to be able to grow their own. And that's not just medical patients. This is adult use cannabis. Yeah, it's been going on so long, and I'm going to be 50 this year, and honestly, this is probably going to take years, and I just want to sit on my back porch. I'm a good person. I want to have a smoke a joint and just go on with my day. I mean, that's about it. That's all I got to say. And honestly, John, if this state had a ballot initiatives, this is about a done deal, and you probably wouldn't have to do this. So, but that's where I stand. And honestly, we're going to lose tax money if Jersey, New York, probably Delaware. So honestly, I'd sell my soul to anybody that helped me with property taxes. And I can't think of another base of Pennsylvanians that are saying, tax me, tax me. That's about all.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is John. I'm retired state corrections officer and currently a school bus driver. Now, there have been times in my life I have smoked marijuana, but that total argument about truck drivers is a crock. When you get behind the wheel of your vehicle, you are solely responsible for what you do and what you have in your system. You can go to any truck stop in this state or anywhere in the United States and buy any drug you want. And I've seen truck drivers so high they couldn't stand still. So let's not use that as an argument against marijuana, please. As a corrections officer, I'd like to ask you, has anybody here ever been locked up in prison? Okay, you know, it's not a very pleasant experience, is it? Do you think... Okay, I can tell you from firsthand, it's not a pleasant experience. You miss everything in your family. You miss the weddings, you miss the birthdays, you miss the funerals. You miss your family, you miss your kids. Now, if any of you think smoking a joint deserves that kind of life, then I want you to think about this. If you have grandchildren or children, and they're out riding around with their friends, you've taught them your way. They don't smoke marijuana. They get pulled over. Their friend has a joint in the pocket or stubs it under the seat. Have you ever heard the term mass possession? That means everybody in the car gets arrested. And the cops love doing it in this state. And if you get arrested for that one lousy joint in Lackawanna County, you got a good chance you're going to do time. So you want to protect your kids? Decriminalize marijuana.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Milazzo. On September 2nd, I received a DUI for having marijuana in my system. I had marijuana in my system from 3-4 days prior. You know, I was trying to do the cancer, as far as doing the computer thing with trying to enroll with the cancer and everything and getting the medical prescription, and that I do have. But, you know, now the laws, I just say, are so broken at this point. I mean, for somebody to say, okay, you're impaired when you used 3 days prior, I mean, that's just a joke. It really is. I mean, there's 32 components in marijuana that you can test for, but they tend to want to test for THC. I mean, it's scientific fact. If they wanted to know if you were legally impaired within the limit, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous the way the laws are so broken. I could sit here and say, okay, I had to go through court, I have to go through this, I had to do counseling. Counselor's here. I say legalize it, and there's ways to test for impairment. They just don't do it. There's a saliva test. It's that easy. I mean, things have to change. The laws are broken, and I just wish, I mean, under the law now, that the way it's wrote, everybody here, oh yeah, marijuana, marijuana. Guess what? You're getting in your car, you get pulled over, DUI. And everybody's gonna leave here and we all have it in our system. So who's wrong? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Duffy, Afghanistan war veteran. I didn't start. Thank you. I didn't start smoking marijuana until I was 29 years old and already lost my family because of how PTSD is affecting me. I had children and youth come to my house 3 times because my daughter found me growing sunflowers in my closet. And every now and then the house smells funny. Patricia Biggis came to my house from children and youth 3 times. Each time she left my home, she found no signs of neglect or abuse. After that, I got my medical marijuana card. Now that I can smoke without having to worry about getting arrested, my daughter came up to me and told me how much nicer I am when the house smells funny. As far as driving under the influence, I couldn't drive at all on my VA medication. I couldn't sleep on my VA medication. I had intense thoughts of suicide on my VA medication. Now that I have my medical card, that barely happens anymore because I smoke weed every day. It is my right. And just like the Second Amendment, if you want to take that right away from me, you can come try, but it's going to be really hard.
Ma'am, you have the floor.
I'm Marie Schumacher. I don't believe there's enough known about the long-term risk of cannabis use. After an exhaustive review, the National Academy of Medicine found in 2017 that cannabis use is likely to increase the risk of developing schizophrenia and other psychoses. The higher the use, the greater the risk. Also, that regular cannabis use is likely to increase the risk for developing social anxiety disorders. The last thing we need is to lose a large segment of our youth, having them end up in a psychiatric institution. And I do not believe there is a test in traffic violations for cannabis, such as there is in levels of alcohol. And until that time, I think it should not be even considered. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Cheryl Wilson. I am a pharmacist, and I actually work in one of the medical marijuana dispensaries. We have the Luzerne County permit, so I hope you'll be in Luzerne County soon. I do have medical background. I want to address the research. 5 years ago, if you asked me if I was for medical or recreational cannabis, I would have said a big no. And when this was in the works in Pennsylvania, I believed in you don't state your opinion until you have something to back it up. So I started doing research. And there is research out there. Does there need to be more? 100%. But there is good data from, I'll tell you, the Journal of American Medical Association. There's research studies at CHOP with autism. Doing this for the last year, it is life-changing. Life-changing. And I would not hesitate to put any one of my family, recreational, medical, anybody to use this product. And 5 years ago, I had that same stigma. So my main point is I'm encouraging everyone to do the research, to really get it. It is the only substance that has been scheduled as a Schedule I based on lack of knowledge, not evidence. The product in Pennsylvania is currently heavily tested. I keep hearing that come up a lot. It is heavily tested, and I believe, as I think Pennsylvania holds a gold standard with their medical program, that it would just continue over into recreational. As far as driving, as a pharmacist, I will tell you half the medications you're on, you should not be driving with. I do not encourage driving for marijuana, prescription drugs, alcohol, or anything else that can defer it. I encourage you, like I said, to look up information. Dr. Susan Sicily has done great research with our veterans and is doing great work. So I encourage research, and I will tell you, about 90 to 95% of my patients I'm treating medically have at minimum reduced their opioids, if not come off of them. It is life-changing. It is life-changing. And I 100% support recreational use.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Lieutenant, thank you for this venue. I am a minority here. I am not making any comments about medical marijuana. My comments will be made about recreational marijuana. I was an employer for 20 years in South Florida in the construction industry. And I was very aware that my men at times were smoking when they shouldn't have been on the job. And I can say from experience that it caused a mental lethargy that caused problems, specifically in safety. And it is very difficult to detect other than testing. So an employer is at odds to know what to do in order to control this kind of use, because a man can smoke or a person can smoke a cigarette and cover up the evidence to your knowing. And we had incidents where this was a problem. That's number one. Number two, just because our neighboring states jump off a cliff, that doesn't mean we should do it too. We need time to test everything. Thirdly, I'm holding in my hand a report from a New York Times reporter that says specifically that it does cause schizophrenia and paranoia in prolonged use. I would like to give you a couple copies of this if you could forward them to the governor. And lastly, And lastly, I would like to say that we're a free country. We have the freedom to do what we should do, not what we want to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sir, you have the floor over there.
Mr. Lieutenant Governor, thank you. Could I please stand up here? I know we have the podium set here, but I'd like to see our other representatives' face, if that's okay with you, if I could stand right here on the corner.
I don't feel with that level of confrontation is necessary.
Oh, no,
I can hear
I'm
you.
not being negative. It's not negative.
Negative or positive, I just want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate that you're here. To our other elected officials, the ones that decided to stay, thank you. Mr. Bolus, I agree with you. Hank, don't get mad at me, folks. I agree with what you said. I also hold a CDL. I no longer drive, but I also hold one. I agree with you. You should not be impaired if you're behind the wheel, whether it's an 18-wheeler or a big wheel. You should not be impaired behind the wheel. If you're on your lawn tractor and you're drunk and your wheels touch the road, you're getting a DUI. You shouldn't be doing it. That just comes down to using your head. If your drivers are using any substance, it doesn't matter what it is, then they're wrong. Take away the branding. Take away the fact that you're calling it marijuana. Add alcohol. Add heroin. It doesn't matter what it is. If they're impaired, they're impaired. Take away that stigma. It's bad. That's it. It wasn't. I'm glad, and I'm glad for all of the people that are against it. And you know, guys, I know some of the things I definitely didn't agree with, but that's the great thing about our country. If we can't communicate back and forth civilly, we're not going to go anywhere. So, on the whole, we were discussing the one thing that I hate hearing marijuana called as a drug. That's got to go away. It's not man-made. If you believe in a higher power, let's just call it a higher power. It's higher power made. Alcohol, guess who makes it? Men. Heroin, guess who makes it? Men. Cocaine, guess who makes it? Men. Marijuana is given to us by Mother Nature, by a higher power. It's not touched. Why would you be against something? You eat carrots, don't you? You enjoy salad, don't you? You have no problem slicing up that steak, okay? There's no difference. That's not being tampered with on that one, because I know we're limited on our time, sir, and I don't want to waste your time. I am a non-user. I'd love to be able to use it. It would help me with anxiety unbelievably, but because of our laws and my employer, I'm not allowed to use it. However, I've witnessed family, teenager, large cell, I knew I'd do this because I'm in front of this. Large cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's one. Gastroparesis, where if you don't know about it, that's one of the many things my wife suffers from. Her stomach is paralyzed. So she's unable to eat. She's in constant pain. Her cousin is also affected by it. Neuropathy, arthritis, suicide. Thank you, my brothers. Welcome home. I've witnessed many veterans commit suicide, sir. I've been on the phone with them. I was a part of an organization locally where we reached out and helped our veterans with suicidal issues. Sir, I'm not saying it's an all, fix cancer, but man, it saves lives. It's proven. People with skin disorders, it's not all about smoking. Everybody thinks, oh, pot, it's all about smoking. It's broken down into oils, into medicine, where our children are allowed to use it. They put it on their skin topically. They take it orally. It takes away seizures. It's a miracle. It's a miracle, God-given thing, and it's not been touched by men.
Okay. Can we leave it there, sir? Thank you very much. We have to thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Before we go on, I see, sir, are you able to stand much longer? Would you defer? Are you sure you're okay? Okay. All right, sir, you have the floor then. All right.
Hi, my name's Dave Petrillo. I'm born and bred in Dunmore, and I'd like to personally welcome you to the best town in the Union.
Go Steelers.
But, let's see. I'm more nervous than I thought. I'm 53 years old, and a lot of my friends can't say that because they're dead. Unfortunately, they've overdosed on certain drugs, and one died in a car accident because he was drunk. And my personal opinion is it boils down to free will. It's not it's not government given, it's not your neighbor's given, it's God's given. It's God's drug. Let's use it.
Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you for coming. I just want to speak for a few moments about what some of the other states are saying that have already legalized recreational marijuana. Regardless of personal opinion on recreational marijuana use for those over the age of 21, most adults agree that youth should not use marijuana. With the legalization of marijuana, concerns have been raised on youth marijuana use and how to reduce and prevent it. This is of particular importance when there's adults in the home who use marijuana. Regardless of personal beliefs on the use of recreational marijuana for adults of legal age, medical research shows that it's imperative to delay the use of marijuana and other substances by teens and young adults for as long as possible. In a Cape Cod survey, they talked to students and they provided this information on teen use. More than 50% of the Cape Cod youth reported using marijuana, and they believed that their parents did not think that it was wrong. These respondents were 3 times more likely to use marijuana than the respondents who heard strong messages of disapproval from their parents. So if there's users in the home, the children are much more likely to use than otherwise when the parents are saying that this is wrong. And so from what I've been reading in some of these different states, whether it's coming out of Denver or out of Massachusetts, they're very concerned about what's happening with the kids and that more kids are using now that recreational marijuana has been accepted. It is true. Read the surveys and the studies. The pot today is not the pot that we grew up with. While it's now legal for adults to possess and use marijuana for recreational purposes in various states, the THC content and delivery methods have changed since the 80s and 90s even. The potency has increased 3 times. Yeah, so it's not what it's not,
no.
It's not what we've seen before. It's not the same thing. And the delivery methods are different, including talking about doing it with vaping and eating it. And the kids believe that it's not going to be as potent if they eat it. Substance use by teens and young adults has been shown to have a negative impact on brain development. This impact includes increased risky behaviors, increased risk of depression and anxiety, reductions in memory, thinking, concentration, coordination, and time perception. This is not coming from a conservative source. This is not coming from the right. This is coming right from Massachusetts, from the Human Resource Center there. The Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration has found that 87% of the people in the marijuana treatment program report that they started using prior to the age of 17 years old. We need to consider our kids, our youth, and their future, and the safety of this, and how it's going to affect them, and them being addicted, and what that's going to do to our society and our culture here, and our whole future for all of us, not just our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that we should legalize it and we should sell it through our state liquor store system so we can profit and tax it and keep it out of the hands of children. Thank you very much.
Okay. Miss, you have the floor. Miss, before you start, I can't emphasize enough civility for the speaker. Whether you agree, disagree, otherwise, they have the floor and they have the courage to step up and share their views, whatever it is, and we owe them that respect of quiet. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Mickey. I do not regularly use cannabis, but I do support sorry, my words aren't always good. I do support legalizing it. One of the reasons that I do not use cannabis on a regular basis is because my family can literally be torn apart. Whether I have my children or not, that is a risk that any parent takes. It's unnecessary. Alcohol is much more dangerous. I know when I drink, I'm a much worse person than if I was to smoke. So I support thank you. I support legalization for adult use, tax it, stop tearing people apart over something unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you. You have the floor.
Hi, thanks for being here. I'm glad this discussion's happening. As a cancer patient, survivor, I believe in this. Thank you. I have a brain tumor, and it's not been easy in the last 2 years, but I got some medication from California as soon as my friends heard. So I do believe I've never had an opioid. I've had many issues with my pains and aches and feet and bones. So I did a lot of different things. I want to say I believe in that it should be a lower thing when you're going for disability because you have a brain tumor and you, or any issue you're going for disability and you don't have an income because you can't work and you're going through treatments, as they like to say, you don't have any money. It's very hard then to come up with money for this licensing, which I do have, and I work my way through it, but I'd like to support pro-recreational. And I also want to remind everybody that there is a lot of things you could do with hemp products. It has nothing to do, you could tax, you could build things. There's so much information out there, and that, I believe, is the future. But I would like to say tax it, legalize it. We need money. We need money in this state, and it's obvious. Education, parks, our transportation. If you come to this town, I bought a bike, electric bike. I can't even get across this highway. I live across not far. And it is hard. We don't have any sidewalks. Very small little things that other states have, like sidewalks and bike trails to get places. We're getting a little better on that, but it's very difficult. So these are the things I would like to see some of the monies that the proceeds of this could go to. Thanks. That's
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you for coming. My name is Patrick Dempsey. I'm a citizen of Lackawanna County. I'm going to use this reading because I feel that my nerves would be just too much to go freehand. I am here this evening to share my thoughts on the use of recreational marijuana. I am currently and will be on medical marijuana the rest of my days. In 2012, after an appointment with the chiropractor, the next morning I was taken by ambulance to Moses Taylor Hospital. It took 3 shots of morphine just to stop me from screaming out in pain. After 2 years of working in pain, I finally gave in to the fact that my working days were over. At that point, I had been through every single opioid on the market, and the only one that I could bear was hydrocodone, and that was at 7 pills at a time. 4 MRIs later, someone suggested that I try marijuana, and after finding someone with it, I purchased it and went home to see what would happen. It was in that moment that I felt relief like I hadn't felt in the past 3 years. Every day it helps to ease a pain that I cannot put into words. I know a lot of people here tonight are for the use of recreational marijuana in Pennsylvania. Some of you are against it. I know that from my use of it in my early 20s, I can and will swear that it is not a gateway drug. I know that it's not addictive, and I could promise you that it's less harmful than alcohol. There are people buying and selling every day, and we have yet to hear from anyone intentionally killing themselves from pot. Opioids, heroin, meth, alcohol are all guilty of leading you down that dark road. Sir, I ask only that our government turns this situation around and let's take it out of the alleyways and hideaways and turn it into what it should be, a win for the citizens of PA, not only financially, but also a reduction in our court cost and the criminal standpoint. Thank you for your time.
Sir, you have the floor.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you for coming. I'm also John. In any decision-making process, whether legalize or not legalize, you look at the current situation versus the situation that would be if you legalize. Currently, you know people are using marijuana. If you legalize it, people will also be using marijuana. You will not know if there's an increase because you don't have a basis. You don't have a number that says this is how many people are currently using. I see all the time there's accidents, there's an accident because people are under the influence. Well, you may also have people under the influence. Well, you will have because we currently have that. But as a test, one thing that bothers me about any political decision, it seems like people think, well, if we do this, it's written in stone. But the state can legalize it and then see, well, is there an increase in the amount of accidents of people under the influence? Then we know that maybe we need to change that decision. That, any decision can be changed. One other thing about the legalization, again, people have touched on this, increase state revenue, reduce court costs, reduce cost of utilizing police time. I mean, these are all things that even though in my 60 years, I've never tried it, but I am pro-legalizing recreational marijuana because I see a number of positives. Legalize it, and as the gentleman previously said, as an initial rollout, Pennsylvania has a great advantage in that you have the state store system. And that's not the ultimate goal, but as a test rollout to adults, you have that way you're controlling it. Only people over 21 are using it.
Okay, thank you. You have the floor.
Am I the first person to take it off? Yeah? Okay. My name is Joshua. I've used cannabis before, believe it or not. I would feel a lot better right now if I could legally light up a joint and relax, because there's always an edge to public speaking, and cannabis is a safe way to relieve stress. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank the Pennsylvania government for all the steps that we've taken together, and actually everyone involved with it, everyone pushing for legalization on the medical front, the steps that we've taken on the medical front for people with various diseases who now have safe, regulated access to this powerful healing plant. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to absolutely everyone that's been involved with that, and everyone here coming out to speak and share your opinion. Like, this is really, it shows that we're getting closer to fully accepting cannabis on the societal level. Yeah. Thank you. So this is a plant that has been used medically, spiritually, recreationally, industrially, and as a healthy food source by many cultures since the dawn of known history. This is nothing new. It's not something that is made in a lab. This is something that God provided, if you believe in God. God created cannabis for a reason. It's not here for no reason. So this is regarding recreational cannabis legalization. Here's the bottom line. People like to feel good. Everyone in this room likes to feel good. Right now, the only legal intoxicant is alcohol. That means that if someone wants to feel good, the only legal, if someone wants to get intoxicated, the only legal way for them to do that is to go out and drink. In my experience, in my observations, cannabis is much safer than alcohol. Alcohol makes people violent, cannabis makes people peaceful and considerate of one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Very glad to be at the pep rally tonight. Hearing a lot of different arguments. I thought Marie made some good points. Bob made a lot of good points. And we heard from Commissioner Cummings, who cited some different things that I know some of you didn't want to hear. Sometimes there are statistics and facts that are accurate, but just because we don't like to hear them doesn't mean they're wrong. This argument about, we could go have a beer tonight, get behind the wheel, get into an accident, kill somebody is a bad thing. We all agree that that's the case. Obviously, we would never encourage somebody to do that, and we don't encourage our children to do that. That's not the example we want to set. nor do we want to set the example for them tonight. If we were all to light up a joint right now in this room, and when we leave here, get in our vehicle and drive down the O'Neill Highway, is that also something we would encourage? I don't think so. There's two discussions. There's the medical side, and what I thought tonight's purpose was recreational use. So we're hearing a lot of the medical because that seems to be where you could only really get your positive support from is out of the medical side of it. But tonight we're talking about recreational use. Am I going to stand here, light up a joint, and get in my car when I leave this meeting? Absolutely not. Am I going to drink a beer and go down the road? No, we don't encourage to do any of that. And, you know, the point was made about truck drivers and other people, whether you drive an 18-wheeler, a car, pickup truck, whatever the case is, we don't encourage you to do that. And that's not the example we set for anybody, children, anybody. Medical marijuana or recreational use, you know, I hear tonight, oh, tax it, I don't care, tax me to death. It's the first time I ever heard that, which, you know, is kind of silly. It's not going to be the savior to the state's problems, the Commonwealth's problems, whether it's the education system or just the overall general fund. The problem we have in the Commonwealth and locally in Scranton and everywhere else is we elect people who are incompetent, and they mismanage the tax dollars that we already take in. You pay a lot of property tax, don't you? Raise your hand. Are you tired of paying high property tax? No. I think many of you are lying. But the problem we have is your tax dollars are being mismanaged. You have a pension fund that's underwater. You have an overburden of taxes. You have a Scranton School District that's in the process of being taken over by the state. Well, you could boo all you want, but you know what? You did a remarkable job by electing these people for a long time. So it has to do with the people you send to Harrisburg, and you've got some beauties down there, I'll tell you, because they've done such a hellacious job of representing you. And that's where it starts. It starts with the people you elect. So that covers the whole tax side of it, and your revenue and everything else. They've taxed the living hell out of you, and they have no solutions to your problem. They don't care about you. And to legalize marijuana is not only a detriment to the community, it's a detriment to our children, future generations, everybody in this room, and everybody out there across this Commonwealth. And that's how I feel about it. I'm adamantly opposed to it. The argument about drinking beer and all the other nonsense, just because you want to argue that, oh, you can go up and down the road with a beer, well, that means that makes it okay for marijuana then? I don't buy it. I'm opposed to it, and I would encourage the legislator, you, Lieutenant Governor, and the governor to oppose it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
Amen.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, John, for coming here, and I'd like to thank Penn State, too, for having this. I was also in the trucking industry, and I fractured my spine. I have bars and screws, and I've been in pain, chronic pain, for 12 years. Over the 12 years, I was on fentanyl, Ambien, gabapentin, oxycodone 5 milligrams, oxycodone 20 milligrams, Toradol shots, antidepressants, spinal injections, and pantoprazole, which is medication for my stomach because of the medications they were giving me. Okay, I just got my medical marijuana card, and I can't tell you how much this has helped me. I am off 60% of these pharma medications that were killing me. It helps me with pain. It helps me to sleep. And I am pro legalization. I feel that if we legalize it and we tax it, it could help those people that are on the medical marijuana now to reduce the cost. The cost of medical marijuana right now is way too high. A lot of people can't afford to get it. There's plenty of people out there right now that wish they could afford to go get their cards, and they can't do it. This is something that could help a lot of people that are in pain, that have diseases. I have a fiance that has MS. This has helped her greatly. So I'm pro, and I hope it gets passed.
We are up against our time limit of 6:30. So those that are in line, could you please limit your remarks very brief that conveys your passion, which way or no, so we can make sure we get through the queue here.
Hi, my name is Matt Clemente. I work as a public defender and a civil rights attorney, so I view this through the lens of criminal justice reform more generally. And one issue that I'd like to bring to your attention is probably would be helpful to some people here is that currently under Pennsylvania law that if you're driving and pulled over for a traffic violation and the officer claims to smell marijuana, that is grounds on its own for them to search your car. And so as someone that feels that unreasonable seizures is an integral part of what our Constitution is about, I think that's a loophole that's can be exploited and undermines our freedom. Secondly, I'd like to touch on, as a public defender, I see people and I see firsthand the opioid epidemic, and I think that comparisons to that are way off. I see every day people that are destroying our communities, stealing and doing bad things because they need heroin and need opioids. I've never had a client that was doing similar types of acts to get marijuana. That I think that that's a spurless comparison.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor, but brief. We have to get everyone through.
My name is Matt. Growing up, I'll be 60 this year.
Sir, could you speak into the microphone?
Sorry. I'll be 60 this year. Never really a drug user. Drank a lot. Growing up, about 5 years ago, I was crushed in an industrial accident. I was given, saw multiple doctors from here to Philly. Was given going to the doctor's office when you're in pain, it's going like to a candy store. I was on everything from oxycodone to Percocet to Vicodin, everything in between. Nothing helped the pain, it just made me nauseous. I had doctors starting last year that encouraged me to look at medical marijuana. I looked at it, I went away from it because of all the caveats attached by the federal government. It's considered a felony, class 1 drug, which is a bunch of nonsense. I was on Lyrica for almost 4 years. I finally went off it after my attorney and some other doctors encouraged me to get off it because it was just making me goofy. And that's a class 4 or class 5 drug, I can't recall. The medical marijuana is a higher class and had less effect on me. Going off the Lyric, I've had IBS almost every day, 12 and 15 times to the bathroom. It's no fun. Medical marijuana has allowed me to sleep at night. Previous to that, I go 10 days without sleeping. I don't know, I can't speak for everybody in this room, but I've traveled extensively. I was a professional. I have a couple of degrees in chemistry. And countries throughout the world, you go to Germany, people smoke pot all week long. They go to work on Monday, they do their jobs. We're stuck in the Puritan view of we can't do this, we can't do that. So many people that were here pointing out that this is an herb that came onto Earth when man appeared on Earth, and it's here to help us. So I would
regret that.
I would encourage the legislature to look at passing it to help the cost because it's very expensive.
Okay, thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you for this venue, and I just want to say my name is Dan Sickler. I really want to say one thing. Somebody has mentioned comparing this to Prohibition. My great-grandfather was a legal drunk. When Prohibition came in, the money came into the home. My great-grandfather was home. But when Prohibition ended, he was a legal drunk. The family suffered. When we look for things to take care of our needs, and I've had many different needs, I haven't taken a pill of any sort, don't even take supplements of any sort, whatever. Haven't done that for 40-some years. Haven't gone to a doctor. I've crushed my back. I've had pleurisy. I've had spurs in my shoulder. I've had many different things, but I know there's one that gives us peace and joy while he also gives us health. And it's not found in the plant. It's not found in those things out there that give you substance to alter the way you feel. But secondly, or lastly, the first 4 states to legalize marijuana for recreational use were Colorado and Washington in 2014 and Alaska and Oregon in 2015. Combined, those 4 states had about 450 murders and 30,300 aggravated assaults in 2013. Last year, they had almost 620 murders and 38,000 aggravated assaults, an increase of 37% for murders and 25% for aggravated assaults.
Okay, sir,
Far greater
given our
than
time,
national increase.
would you categorize yourself as strong?
Opposed.
Okay,
to
thank you.
the
All right, sir.
recreational use.
Hi,
Okay.
I'm Mike. I'm pro-marijuana. I've been on medical marijuana since its inception. Before that, 19 years ago, I was in a car accident. 8 750 Vicodins and 3 Valiums a day, and they expected you to work, drive. I was a zombie. I couldn't do Katsangul.
Okay,
And I'm just saying, medical marijuana, no OxyContin, no gabapentin, no nothing except medical marijuana. Thank you.
All right.
How you doing? I'm in the pro camp. As far as I'm concerned, the war is over. The drug cartels have done that. If we don't legalize it, they're still going to do their illegal trade here. It's not going to stop. I just don't know how you're going to regulate the 6 plants part of it. You're going to come in my house and check me for the 6 plants that I'm growing. You know, that's where the regulation, I know that's where the hydroponics and all that would come in. I recognize this lady. She's actually one of my heroes, Marie Schumacher. She's always in the paper. I love her. She's an activist. Not agreeing with her today. Same with Bob. But I agree with her. Anyways, yeah, the war is over. Hollywood and the music today, my kid thinks it's legal already. She carries it around in a mason jar. I shouldn't even say that, but she thinks it's legal. She's moving to Reno soon because it is legal there. And
So would you categorize yourself, your views?
yeah, I'm for it because John Boehner says it's okay, and I'm with John Boehner all the way, Marty.
Okay.
Marty,
All right, thank
Marty,
you.
you should move on to office. You're great. Replace Casey.
How about 15? We really got it. We're over our deadline here.
I'm not for or against, and I'll tell you why. I came here to learn something tonight. 90% of the arguments were about medicinal. It's already legally medicinally available. So that kind of negated a lot of what I came here to hear tonight, and I want you to try to focus your next town hall to bring that into consideration. And one other thing, we really need to look at society, the opioid crisis, the drug crisis, the fact that we got to feel good by doing drugs, and wonder what's the underlying problem with society. That we're not talking about. That should be the first place we start. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out and giving up time on your Saturday. So we have one more thing to do here. Well, of course, thank the folks here at Penn State, of course, for opening up their facility for this community discussion. All right. All those in favor of adult recreational use marijuana, raise their hands. Yes, yay. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up so we can document this. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. All those opposed to adult use cannabis, no. Raise your hands. Keep your hands up. All right. All those undecided, middle of the roads, raise your hand. Keep your hands up so we can document that. All right. I want to thank you, Scranton, for we had just a couple moments, but overall civility. I think that's the most critical issue in American politics these days. Thank you for being in rooms with people that disagree with you, and thank you for coming out and participating. I'm very grateful. Take care. Thank you. I really liked your truck, honestly. I saw him on the road one day. I took all